There are places in this world that defy explanation. They exist just beyond the edge of our understanding, hidden in the shadows of our fears. Eldergrove was one such place, a village surrounded by rolling hills and dense forests, where people lived quietly, their lives touched by an ever-present dread. Eldergrove was a place where the darkness wasn't just a backdrop, it was alive, breathing just beneath the surface, waiting for the moment to reach out and pull you under. And nowhere was that darkness more palpable than in the Whispering Woods. No one in Eldergrove ventured into the woods after nightfall. The villagers spoke of it in hushed tones, telling stories of those who had entered the forest and never returned. The woods had a way of swallowing people whole, leaving nothing but an echo of their last terrified breaths. Yet, despite the warnings, there was always one who couldn't resist the pull of the unknown, one who believed that the stories were just stories, that the darkness held no power over them. This time, that one was Layla. Layla was different from the others in Eldergrove. While they cowered in the face of the unknown, she felt an insatiable curiosity gnawing at her, urging her to seek out the truth. The stories of the Whispering Woods fascinated her, the thought of an entire forest alive with voices, holding secrets that had been buried for centuries. So, on a cold, foggy autumn evening, Layla made the decision that would change her life forever. She would enter the woods. As she crossed the threshold of the forest, the air seemed to change, growing colder, denser, as if the trees themselves were aware of her presence. The fog thickened around her, curling around her legs like ghostly fingers. The lantern she carried cast only the faintest light, barely piercing the oppressive darkness. But it wasn't the dark that unnerved her, it was the silence. A silence so deep that it seemed unnatural, as if the forest was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Layla walked deeper into the woods, the path twisting and turning, leading her into the heart of the forest. The trees towered above her, their branches tangled and knotted, blocking out the sky. It was then that she heard it, the first whisper. It was faint, barely more than a breath, but it was unmistakable. A voice, soft and low, speaking a language she couldn't understand. She stopped, straining to listen, but the whisper faded into darkness. Layla continued walking, her heart pounding in her chest, the whispers growing louder, more insistent. They seemed to come from all around her, from the trees, the ground, the air itself. A chorus of voices, some weeping, others laughing, all blending together in a maddening cacophony. And then, as suddenly as they had started, the whispers stopped. Layla found herself standing in front of an ancient oak, its gnarled trunk twisted and blackened as if it had been struck by lightning. The ground beneath her feet was soft, almost spongy, and a chill ran down her spine as she realized it wasn't just earth she was standing on. It was something else, something that pulsed with a dark energy, something alive. At the base of the oak, half buried in the soil, she saw it, a small, weathered box. She knelt down, brushing away the dirt, her fingers trembling. The box was old, the wood cracked and dry, yet it felt oddly warm to the touch. She hesitated, a sense of dread creeping over her, but her curiosity won out. With a deep breath, she opened the box. Inside were coins, ancient and tarnished, and a piece of parchment covered in strange, cryptic symbols. But as she touched the parchment, a sudden wave of cold washed over her, and the air around her seemed to ripple. The whispers returned, louder now, more urgent. And the ground beneath her feet began to shift, as if something was moving just beneath the surface. A figure had emerged from the shadows, stepping into the dim light of her lantern. It was an old man, his skin pale and translucent, his eyes dark voids that seemed to swallow the light. He stared at her, his expression one of sorrow and regret. When he spoke, his voice was like the rustling of dead leaves, dry and brittle. "You should have not come here," he said, his voice echoing in the silence. "This place is cursed, bound by a darkness that feeds on those who dare seek its secrets. I am the keeper of this forest, condemned to guard it for all eternity. But you have awakened something far worse. Before Layla could react, the ground beneath her gave way and she fell, the earth swallowing her up like quicksand. She tried to scream, but the darkness choked the sound, and the last thing she saw was the old man's face, watching her with pity as she was pulled into the depths. She awoke in total darkness, the air thick with the stench of decay. She was underground, buried alive, her body trapped in a narrow space that pressed in on all sides. Panic set in as she realized she couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The whispers returned, louder than ever, but now they were inside her head, filling her mind with visions of torment and despair, the voices of who had come before her, all trapped, all suffering. She clawed at the earth, desperate to escape, but it was no use. The forest had claimed her, as it had claimed so many others before. And as the last of the air left her lungs, she understood the truth. The Whispering Woods weren't just haunted. They were a prison, a place where the souls of the damned were trapped for all eternity, their whispers a warning that no one heeded. The villagers never saw Layla again. They whispered about her, speculating on what might have happened, but none dared to enter the woods to search for her. They knew the truth, deep down, even if they didn't say it out loud. The Whispering Woods had taken her, and she had become another voice in the dark, another whisper in the night. And so the forest remained, silent and watchful, waiting for the next curious soul to step too close.